This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the new Full Battle Rattle studios.
Donald Trump understands that enforcing the laws are paramount to what the will of the people is, and thank God he's still preaching that.
With National Police Week in full swing, we wanted to honor our men and women in blue today, so we're welcoming back Dave Bray to the show. The musician and military vet has an incredible song called Last Call, honoring our fallen police and their families. There's also a video for the song, and it is amazing. Dave Bray is here to talk about Last Call and to honor our brave police officers. Plus, we'll have the latest national and Alaska headlines and Sarah Palin news. We'll visit the Crow's Nest with Tanya Crow in California. Also, from the Golden State, Kelly Carlson is on target. And a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is coming up from Texas. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio, available at mamagrizzlyradio.com and now available at sarahpalin.com by clicking on the More tab. The Palin Update is sponsored by Full Battle Rattle. Full Battle Rattle, helping veterans suffering from combat-related disabilities through the healing power of music. Learn more at facebook.com/fullbattlerattle.abq. Rocker Dave Bray has been a friend of this show for years, and the veteran is also a great friend of our police. Bray's song Last Call and the video that accompanies it has brought tears to many eyes across the world of late. These are the last few words that I'd like to say to you all. This is my last call. Today, we will talk to Dave about that song, Last Call, and much more, right here on the Palin Update. And right now, we do welcome Dave Bray back to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Dave, always a pleasure to talk to you. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Absolutely, Kevin. It's great to speak with you as well.
And, I enjoy talking to you on many levels, and no doubt, and this one more of a solemn topic, but just unbelievable. The song Last Call and the video you put out for this. I know you've gotten so many hits on it and people talking to you about it and thanking you for it. But, since we talked about it on our site and on sarahpalin.com, just the response we've gotten, people texting me, saying they're in tears after watching it. And you can understand. Honoring not only our fallen police officers, but the families that are left behind. It's great work, Dave.
Thanks, man. And we work together with an organization called LESMO to put that all together. They're a media watchdog group that, if you look at what's happened in the media, it's basically an anti-police. That's the narrative that the media has taken. Anything that's negative, we're not seeing anything of the positive that they're doing. It's always that negative. How hard can we bash our brothers and sisters in blue? And that's where they come in. But honestly, that song was written for the people that may not have an opinion on police, and to show them that, or they have a negative opinion, that say, hey, these are men and women who have families. They're community volunteers. They're upstanding citizens. And it's one of those things that we got to look beyond the job that they have to do. So that's why we made the video.
And you've always been so pro-military, pro-police. We have as well, Governor Palin as well, but it sure is nice to have a president now in the White House who is on that same page. And, morale goes a long way in situations like this, and our officers knowing that we're behind them, I think, is a big deal. And your video and your song, I really think makes a huge difference. I know I've sent it to a lot of officer friends who just absolutely not only loved it, but, said thank you for it.
Right. Yeah. We've gotten responses from people in New Zealand, Australia. It really has been an incredible response. One of the hardest, unfortunate responses that I've gotten. I've played a lot of the FOP events and things like that around the country, and obviously most recently the memorial on Monday. But the hardest response that I've gotten thus far has been from a widow, and she came up to me and said, my husband's end of watch, we celebrated his 1-year end of watch by playing your song at his memorial site where he was killed. And it was honestly like your words were his words coming through those speakers. And I can't thank you enough for giving him that voice from sort of beyond the grave. And that is some of the most morbid sort of mentality kind of thing. Not really morbid, but it's very macabre. But it's one of those things that I pray that I never, ever have to say to someone else to say, hey, thank you for giving me my husband's last words for me, because I never got that. And that's another reason why the song was written. And that's how powerful those words are in that song. That's what people get down to. Your words, Dave, are just cut through to the heart. And that's where they came from. So it's definitely hard hearing from, the spouses of the fallen.
What's that like for you, as a guy who's a musician, and you're out here making great music, and we know what a great musician you are and singer, but to have such an effect on someone's life and to a source of comfort, really. I mean, it's someone going through that hell of losing their loved one like that, and families, wives, husbands, and children, and your song helping them. I mean, that's just got to be amazing for you to feel that, helping a little bit. I mean, you can't bring anybody back, but you certainly can say, hey, this wasn't in vain.
Well, I'm going to attribute that, honestly, to when I was a young boy, and May 13th was the anniversary of the passing of one of my best friends. We were riding to baseball practice. His name was Corey Riekert. He was 10 years old. We were all 10 years old riding to baseball, and he got hit by a vehicle and died. And it was one of those things that I didn't know how to deal with it. I did a lot of personal writing, and that was sort of how I helped myself deal with the mental sort of strength, the stress of losing your best friend when you're 10. And it was one of those things where I just kept, writing, and I went to faith and sort of let both of those two things sort of counterbalance the other out. And, without sort of writing internally, sort of monologuing on paper and being able to reflect exactly how I felt, and dealing with it and coping with it and using faith as my, my bridge, my crutch, my guide through life, I don't think that that song would have been written. And it's one of those things that, I think looking back on, I have to attribute some of what I write and how I write what I write in musically it's all relative to some of that, if that makes sense, just that connection with genuine words and how they hit the paper.
You can see the video for Last Call right on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page, also on Sarah Palin's Facebook page, and at sarahpalin.com. Where else can people check it out, Dave, and also all the other great stuff from Dave Bray?
Well, everything is, all my stuff is at Dave Bray USA. That's Dave, D-A-V-E, Bray, B as in boy, R-A-Y, USA.com. You can check it out there. The video is also up there. I also have a new video for Amazing Grace that's going to be coming out at the end of this week, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. If you haven't heard the song Amazing Grace, go to iTunes. Just look up Dave Bray on iTunes, and you can hear some of my other stuff as well. But Amazing Grace is pretty special. It's another one of those songs. Pulls at the heartstrings. Everybody loves it, and I'm looking forward to cutting this thing loose, because this will be really my debut video that is done by me, and I'm just excited about it. Last Call was this memorial piece that was so strong, and I feel like we're just following it up with something just as strong and important for Memorial Day.
You're a veteran. We always thank you for your service to our country, and one of the other reasons we followed you from the start here. You could put yourself in a way in the shoes of a police officer, a different way, obviously, but the danger of the job, the sacrifice, what the families go through. Do you feel, as a veteran, just like a lot of these police officers have told me, you just feel a difference now with the new president and the feel across the country that, hey, not only is Sarah Palin and Kevin Scholla and Dave Bray screaming about our military and police, but now a lot of other people are saying, hey, you know what? It's okay to do that again. I think a lot of people got pushed around for 8 years and kind of got muzzled and silenced out of fear.
Yeah, I think the handcuffs are off a little bit. The one thing that I've really noticed from the law enforcement side of things as to the military side of things is that there is a kindred relationship. There's a ton of guys that I know that went from the Marine Corps directly into law enforcement. It's one of those things that I thought there was always a kindred fellowship there that was respected. But if we look at really what's happening on the global sort of side of this thing, our men and women in blue are very similar to what's happening overseas. And for a long time, we have dealt with a poor administration and the poor rules of engagement overseas. And now we're sort of started seeing some of that sort of dissipate and go in a different direction. Where we have to sort of focus on what's happening here in our home country, where we have legislators that are vowing not to uphold the law. Okay, and expect no type of response from anyone about this. Well, I'll do what I want with my city. It's my city. The rules of engagement here are very similar they're putting the handcuffs on our basically on our police, and they're making our police the target. Whereas, unfortunately, it's sad to say that our police are fighting the war for our civil nature in this country every single day. The tour never ends for them. It's a day in, day out job. They don't get 6 months off. They wake up for 30 years, 20 years, some of these guys 30 plus years, and this is it. They're on the job. They're protecting us. They're turning their backs on their families so that they can go out and protect the rest of us. And I think it's high time that this country starts showing the same amount of respect and gratitude that it has for its military as that it should show for its police right here in our own country, and to show them that there's many of us out here that care just as much about them and their safety as they do about us and our safety every single day that they put on the badge. So that's kind of my goal, is to show that law enforcement support in this time of year.
And what's the latest with Dave Bray? People can find out on your website as far as checking you out and all the things you're doing. This is a hardworking guy. And, I know the Dave Bray fans, they love you, Dave. Everything you post, I mean, people, it's heartfelt. They don't just write, great song. I mean, there's always a personal comment, it seems, from people that follow you across the country. So, what you're doing is resonating.
Yeah, I cannot say enough about the fans and the people. And they're more than fans. They become a family. It's my Facebook family. I mean, these are people that reach out to each other. We all circle the wagons around each other when one of us is having a hard time. It's really an amazing group that has done way more than I've seen, even through other, major bands that are out there swinging. I'm just kind of a one-man act now. And I just cannot thank them for the support, especially on the Dave Bray USA Facebook page. And again, to people like Sarah Palin, who see what us little guys are trying to do, understand how important it is that it's coming from this grassroots level. And then when we see people like Sarah Palin sharing, what we're doing, it connects them to us. And that gratitude, we can't express how much we appreciate that. So, I mean, thank you, Kevin, for having me. And thanks to Mama Grizz for putting up with me and constantly hounding her, because, I mean, it never ends. I've always got something working, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate everybody out there that supports Dave Bray USA and our music with a mission. So it's been a great ride, and we're looking forward to 2017 to be even better.
Dave, we appreciated a whirlwind ride for you lately, and all good stuff. Again, you got to see Last Call, folks, and hear it. It's on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. It's on Sarah Palin's Facebook page and at sarahpalin.com. And if you go to mamagrizzlyradio.com, you can find it there, too. We're all over the place. Dave, best to you, Becky, the kids. I hope everybody's well, and we'll have you here again, I hope.
Same. I'll be back, brother. I love you, man. Take care.
For more on Mr. Dave Bray, please check out DaveBrayUSA.com. Now it's time for Sarah Palin News, headlines and more about Governor Palin. A happy Mother's Day from Alaska. Sarah Palin highlights some amazing Americans. Some new faces maybe in Washington soon. Combating unhinged liberal craziness. Honoring a remarkable band of brothers. A great day at Liberty University. And big thanks to Governor Palin for highlighting my article on Dave Bray and his song dedicated to fallen officers, Last Call. It's on sarahpalin.com. Thank you so much, Governor Palin, for bringing this important issue to the masses, and God bless our policemen and policewomen. To read about all of these stories, you can visit the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety and to read her devotionals, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page. Follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA. And don't miss the news, sarahpalin.com. Now let's head to the crow's nest. Here's Tanya Crow.
Thanks, Kevin. This week and just recently I've been thinking about how excited I am that the idea, the pushing, the weaponizing of identity politics from the left against the right is dissolving. It's becoming something so absurd because there's a history now that we can look back on as human beings, as individuals, and say, hey, is this really true? We have so much more between us as citizens, as neighbors, as family, that actually brings us together, that unifies us, that we have common ground on. And this pushing of division and separation is actually becoming painful. And one thing that I've learned from my own life experience is the only changes that I've ever really, really made in my life, which I can say it's not so easy to make true changes. But some of the real deep down true changes that I've made in my life have come when the pain of staying the same is greater than the change. And it just feels like as a country, we're finally getting to that place where the pain of all of this cultural attack on the Western civilization, the Judeo-Christian values that are the foundations of this country that lend for the freedom of any religion and to be free and have the liberty to do and be and say whatever they want, that's been chipped away within liberal leftist society for decades now through our education, through the universities, through the media. And finally, the pain of all of that division, identity politics is getting great enough that those changes are starting to be made. People are starting to stand up and say, this is not true for me, and wake up to how much more we have in common. And I hope to be a part of the watering and the nurturing of that reality, that vision for everyone, so that we can live freely in the greatest country that this world has ever seen. Till next time, this is Tanya Crow with Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tanya Crow on Mama Grizzly Radio. More from the Crow's Nest next week. Now, on Target with Kelly Carlson.
Thanks, Kevin. So I turned on the news the other day, and only to see Los Angeles gun buyback program. If you all could just see these news clips that are so fear-based, and they show all these lines on the streets of people waiting in line to turn in their firearms, and then they interview some of them, and one pulled out 3 pictures of children, and they're like, "This is why I'm doing it. Guns are dangerous." Then they interviewed this other woman that said she had been robbed 3 times, including the liquor store that she owns, and I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure that's why you bought it in the first place. Or if you had it, why didn't you use it? I don't know. It's just this fear campaign, and coupled with guilt. It's constant guilt for anybody else listening who has firearms at home. They talk about children, keeping their community safe. Why does it not sink into people's heads that guns are only dangerous in the hands of idiots, in the hands of people who can't follow safety protocols? My forks have never hurt anybody because I just use them to eat, and I don't hand them to young children. They can fork themselves, it's just common sense to me. But I don't live in Los Angeles anymore. I live in San Diego, and it's not that much better. But it's just sickening to me. And of course, the camera zooms in on all the black AR-15s. They even showed that there was a rocket launcher that was turned in. Really? Let me tell you, if I owned one of those, the last thing I'm going to do is show up at the Los Angeles Police Department with it and say, "Hey, I had this sitting around for 10 years. Do you want to buy it?" I promise you that was not turned in. I mean, of course it could have. But again, what idiot is going to come with a rocket launcher and say, "I'd like to turn this in. Sorry I've had this for so long." I mean, it's just, it's sickening to me. Don't get me wrong. firearms are completely dangerous in the wrong hands. That's why there's safety protocols, like anything sharp or anything else that could hurt you, like, I don't know, broken glass. You don't leave it on the floor. You're going to get cut. You clean it up, and then you vacuum it, and then you sweep it again, and then you vacuum it. You walk over it to make sure that no kid or anybody else is going to get cut. How is that any different? Los Angeles. I should just say California. Where I live, it's probably the most gun-friendly town in California, and that helps. And I know the sheriff's department here understands that a lot of people have firearms, but I swear this is probably the only place in the state of California. And no, I'm not going to leave California. I need everybody else to move out here and to turn the tables. You know, everybody says I'm going to leave California. It's like, no, I'd kind of like to take it back. This is the most unbelievable state to live in, except for the politics and the taxes and the fact that it's so anti-gun. But people that are pro-gun shouldn't leave. They should stand here and fight the laws. So, anyways, anybody who wants to come out, I have a guest room. No, I'm joking. It's filled. But I just thought I'd fill you in on the latest here in California. This is Kelly Carlson. Thanks for listening to Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tune in for more On Target next week.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
I wonder if you're like me. You can hardly stomach the news at all anymore. There's nothing but hate out there. Hate that progressives are trying to disguise as their, quote, First Amendment rights. Here's a few headlines from today. A lawyer argues that Trump executive order violates Muslims' First Amendment rights because it mentions honor killing. By the way, these Muslims are not American citizens. These are Muslims from the 8 countries that Donald Trump identified as wanting to kill us, where terror reigns free. Another headline. Democrat National Committee Chairman Perez claims Democrats will retake both chambers of Congress in 2018. SNL spokesperson Rosie O'Donnell says Rosie O'Donnell's too hateful to play Steve Bannon. Marvel Comics cancels Black Lives Matter themed series. Surprise, surprise. Gun ownership in the LGBT community continues to surge under Donald Trump, and so on and so forth. What is crazy about the hashtag corrupt media is that they are totally in the bag for perpetuating the leaks from the deep administrative state, the hate from the snowflakes, the complete partisan politics, and the lack of First Amendment rights on college campuses and anywhere else for that matter. The alphabet networks continue to try to tout impeachment against Trump, but yet have no facts to make the case. It's just about their narrative. The Democrat Party's turned into a party of hate and extreme partisanship. Whether it's morning network cheerleader sessions for junk science and do-nothing politicians, or the Sunday shows that use commentary as fact. I can hardly stand it. Phony scandals with no evidence, just hype. Again, to control the narrative. And we all know the corrupt media is controlled by the Democrat Party. But this week I found a survey that has just been released by the Public Religion Research Institute in The Atlantic. They examined the sentiments held by white working class adults that found that almost half of them felt they had become strangers in their own country. The poll revealed a very deep divide between working class white Americans who didn't go to college and white Americans who did. 51% of Americans think American culture has not changed for the worse since the 50s, while 48% believe it has. Among the white working class, 65% think it has changed for the worse. One female respondent said, quote, family values have gone to complete X since the 50s. Crap, you can insert it, but it wasn't that word. Part of the intense sense of alienation stems from the stifling atmosphere of political correctness and the severe social and economic punishments that come after those who don't toe their, quote, party line. Another female respondent said, "It just seems like it's gotten to the point where if you don't agree with me or I don't agree with you, we look at each other as being wrong." How did it become that way? How did your opinion become wrong? Everyone has an opinion about life living, and all of a sudden what you believe or what I believe is wrong, end quote. More than 55% of those surveyed think the United States is in danger of losing its culture and identity, including 68% of the white working class. Whatever failings there might be in the specific policies and anything else in Donald Trump's presidency, his campaign tapped into something strong, a visceral feeling that millions of Americans feel forgotten and that their voices don't matter anymore. But you know what's even more intriguing is that none of this is the least bit interesting to the Democrat Party. Why? Because they don't really care about us. And quite frankly, neither does the mainstream GOP. These polls aren't new. There were similar polls taken a year before the election, and they reported almost the exact same results, which fell on deaf ears inside the Clinton campaign and Democrat Party, because it is their way or the highway. You're either with us or you're against us. There's no in between. There's no independence. There's no thought. There's no self-governance. You must toe the Democrat Party line, or you can't be a Democrat. What we're facing is the fact the federal administrative state has grown to be a tumor, a gangrenous, cancerous, oozing pus tumor of fat, of lethargy, of laziness to epic proportions within the federal structure. We have proof the federal government's essentially operating on its own with unelected bureaucrats who think they know better than you and me, and that they are entitled to run this country. The Congress, they've self-neutered their power and responsibility, handing it straight over to the administrative state. Before it was President Obama. Now they're handing it to the administrative state, not even daring to further investigations or explore. Why can they continue to get reelected? Folks, this is what our country looks like, slipping away from the grip of the people, the ones our founders assigned to protect it and protect liberty. So the answer before us is really simple. You're either for America or you're not. You either believe in the nation as founded by imperfect men with a whole lot of divine intervention. And there's only one way, a peaceful, intelligent, and just way to restore the Constitution and our nation. And that's the Convention of States project. Over the weekend, Missouri became the 12th state to pass the identical resolution, making us more than 1/3 of the way toward calling a convention. The time is now. The Army is mobilizing. The question is, who decides? And what are you willing to do to save America? Tweet me this week at Tamara Colbert, #MamaGrizRadio. This is my country, and the anti-constitutionalists don't get to have it. Find out more at conventionofstates.com. I'm Tamara Colbert for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, On Target, and The Crow's Nest, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also available at sarahpalin.com by clicking the More tab. Like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Colbert, at Tanya Yoga 13, and at FBR ABQ. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to breitbart.com/columnists/Kevin-Scholla. I'm also contributing to sarahpalin.com. Please check out my latest piece this week. Visit sarahpalin.com/author/Kevin-Scholla. So honored to be working on the governor's new site. I want to thank Tamara Colbert, Tanya Crow, Kelly Carlson, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Dave Bray, and thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Full Battle Rattle. Visit facebook.com/FullBattleRattleABQ. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.